Okay, let's dive in today on the key to collapsing time on your vision for 2026. There's two things I'm going to share, but the first one is the key to collapsing time on everything that you desire, choose, want to create and experience this year is to remove the illusion of time. And I know that that might seem like, well, what? How do I do that? What does that mean? But truly, time is a chosen illusion. It is something that we use to structure our world, right? Of course, we have clocks and schedules and meeting times and all of that. But time itself is not true. Time itself is an illusion. And wealth itself exists outside of time. I'm going to get into that in just a moment. So if you have this vision for 2026, and maybe it feels juicy and big and like a new declaration of who you are and what you're creating and the standard that you choose for your life, for your business, for your legacy. And yet you have told yourself already that it will take the first 3 months to create this, and then you're going to do this, and then maybe I'll reach that level of income by month 8, and we sort of assign time to our vision. Now, the first thing I want you to come into is taking your vision not as a fantasy, not as a future projection, but as a lived frequency that you be now. You live your vision. You actually start to see reality through the eyes of yourself as creator, that it is already created through the eyes that you see the world through. That is how we start to already select a different reality. More on that to come in the next few episodes. But the key to collapsing time is to remove the illusion of time. It is to no longer make choices based on time or project yourself into a future timeline or a past timeline. So the time dimension is where things can feel slow, right? It's where most people create their life from, based on linear thinking, logical steps, based on age, based on whatever, a number of factors. And yet when we remove ourselves from that dimension of time and we start to see that everything already is, and we remember ourselves as source, as a woman of wealth, in which we bend reality to our state, and then we realize in that moment that wealth has always existed outside of time, then we just come back into our power. Like that is the absolute collapsing of your vision into the now. And it begins with removing the illusion of time. And the second thing is removing the illusion of separation. So one thing I invite you to do and to start to apply is to notice, firstly, where you create distance based on your beliefs or based on your actions or based on your emotions, where you create distance between who you are here today and your vision for the year ahead. Where have you already created distance between where you are and where you want to be? Because we have to remember, and we spoke about this in the first episode of this new season, that we are not becoming, we are being. And when we remember we were never not all, we return back to our true power. And this is where wealth collapses. This is where opportunities open. This is where, and my clients experience this all the time, there are miracles playing out in life that most people call a miracle, but just becomes a normalized state of creating reality. One thing that really supports you in this is to notice how many times you look to your past self, to past memory, to past experiences, and also when you look to the future self and project your power into a future self, rather than living in your true self here now. Because this is where we start to move out of the time dimension into the present now. And everything in this now state already is. And then we start to select that field, that signal, and collapse that vision of what you choose with quicker speed, with more effortless momentum to your field, to your identity. Let's look at wealth for a moment. I mentioned already that wealth exists outside of time. And this is so true. If you think about it, money doesn't care about time. Money does not care about time. Wealth on energetic, emotional, spiritual levels doesn't care about time. It's irrelevant. It's the relevance that we give it that starts to, take time or take weeks or months or years. But wealth and money itself as an energy doesn't care about time. It's irrelevant because it's already created. It already is. There's an infinite abundant supply already in creation. If you think about money as an example, $1 million, it might take someone 10 years to create $1 million. But that doesn't mean that it has to take 10 years. That 1 million can also arrive in 1 second. It is only the relevance and the time structure that we place upon it that then creates that as our experience. So one thing that I would invite you to do is start to remove any sort of rigid timing or structures around how long things have to take. And of course, you can place, income levels that you choose for the months or the year ahead, of course. But don't dictate that it has to take that amount of time. Remember and be in that frequency state now, in the end dimension of that being your experience. Because money is frequency, and money in any form is a frequency that we emit and that responds in our field. So it's not time that you need. It's your frequency. It's your identity. It's a return to your true power. That's what's in place. That's where money, wealth, opportunities collapse to your being. And you can see this with your clients if you're in business or an entrepreneur, right? Your clients aren't hiring you based on time. They're not hiring you based on how much time you put into your social media content. They hire you based on mastery, embodiment, frequency, the solution that you bring, the genius. And also, if you own that you help them collapse time to create the solution or the outcome that they choose, then you've also just collapsed time on your vision because you're holding a different state of power in who you be and in what you facilitate. So the other thing I mentioned here, firstly, we have to remove the illusion of time. Second is to dissolve any tendrils of separation between who you are and where you desire to go this year. Yes, you are going to experience all if you remember who you truly are. But that requires you to not project that identity onto a future month or week or time or season. It requires you to live in the frequency of that being, of that vision alive here now. And do you feel the subtle difference? And this is something that in the Source membership, my signature membership, we're playing with this week inside our immersion, the Year of Overflow, which is running live at the moment. We are playing with bending reality and collapsing time through ourselves as Source. Because we don't see time how most of the world sees time. And we're not operating in logic, we're operating from the illogical realm where everything already is. And this is an art. There's a nature to this. There's an embodiment to this. It's not something that I find most people sort of get straight away. It will ask you to look and to see your vision alive, here now, to see yourself in that frequency. Because everything holds a frequency state, but everything in your reality is mirroring your state. So it begins with you and it ends with you, and it's always you as Source. And this is the true key of a woman of wealth. She isn't projecting how much time something has to take. She knows that's optional. She opens her field to it being instant. How does that feel for you, truly in your energy, in your body? How do you receive that? If everything that you've visioned for 2026 was already here, how does that feel? Because that's going to show you where you've created separation in order to avoid being that version of you now. More on this to come in the following episodes. And I did mention the Source membership. Come and tap into this power current behind 6 to 8 figure leaders and beyond around the world. The Source is my signature membership where you can experience all of the codings of creating and commanding your reality, of collapsing millions, of scaling incredible luxury soul empires, and more through your being as creator. I will see you in the next episode. Take care.